Yeah, what's up? It's Lily back at it. About to do a little part one. Finally, I'm at work at my. I'll be here till tomorrow morning. However, the young lady just went to bed, so I am allowed to jump on here. Because she's in bed now. So I'm in the staff bedroom. God, we so spoiled here. We have our own bedroom. Well, the different staff utilize the room each night that we're here, but it's like a whole bed. Got the fan, you know. I got my little tablet to watch for YouTube videos and stuff like that. That's what I normally do before I fall asleep because I can't fall asleep early. But anywho, what's up, y'all? Finally, here's part one. So basically, it won't be that long, y'all, because I realized I did a video yesterday, believe it or not, but it was like 50 minutes long. It was too long. I don't know the rules on how long you're supposed to do a video. Maybe I need to start Googling stuff and ask. I need to ask Chat GBT questions like that, and then I'll get answers. But yeah, I was just talking and talking and talking, and it was like 50 minutes. I'm like, wait, that's way too long. So basically, what I want to talk about and the age, my age from between 6 and 10 years old. So basically, my final adoption, like I said, I think I mentioned in my introductory video that I went to, and even in my adoption paperwork that I have, I was sent to, I think, 4 different homes, and then for different reasons. One reason why the family didn't keep me, the first family didn't keep me because I was too dark skinned. That's what it says in the paperwork. Mind you, I was 3 months old, I think, when I got put up for adoption, or taken away and then put up for adoption. So the first family in the papers said that I was too dark. And then another family, the mom got sick, the wife got sick or something, so she couldn't no longer take care of me. And then another home, I don't know if I mentioned this in the introductory, but just to recap, a third home, they were going to keep me. A family in Virginia was going to keep me. However, that family knew my family, and from what I was told, and what I read in adoption papers, my family, the Griffin family, Griffin is my original last name, my birth name. And then when I got adopted at the age of 7, it turned to, um, that's how Green ended up being my last name. Green, like the color. So, but anyways, when I got another like I said, that family was going to keep me in Virginia. However, my mom, my biological mom, she went over there and shot a gun up in the air, trying to kind of like let the family know that she was there to get me or something like that. It wasn't the right way to go about it. She was young, um, so that's what she did. It said my family told me, my biological family told me when we met in 2022, and I also read it in the adoption papers that I have, that she went over there shooting a gun up in the air, and they knew my family, so the adoption agency had to move me out of Virginia. And so my adoptive mom, she lived in St. Louis, Missouri, um, and so she ended up adopting me at the age of 7. So let me see. I pretty much can remember most things that I wrote down, but in my book. But let me see what happened. So that was at the age of 7. So I guess between the age of like my mind was blank. My mind, I can't think of anything. I don't remember anything prior to 5 years old. So I was taken away at 3 months old. So a lot of things probably happened between the from 3 months until 5 or 6 till I was able to remember some things. I just remember being in a couple of different foster homes, between that time after 5, and but I remember very little. But I do remember being in a foster home, where there's other kids. There's one girl taught me how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And she used to lick her finger like that, lick the peanut butter off. I would never forget that. Don't ask me why. That's just something she taught me, and I remembered it. I That's like one thing I remember. I don't remember a lot though, honestly. But there were other kids in the home and adults, I guess, family, I don't know. But so anyways, that was like, prior to 7 years old. Um, and so I remember um, having to, once my mother adopted me at the age of 7, I remember flying on TWA. That was the flight I flew on, and I think a lady, a social worker, was probably with me, because my mother, who adopted me, she was at the airport. She met us at the airport in St. Louis, where she lived. So, and I know at first I thought I rode by myself on the plane, but I think that there was someone with me, So, and then we met my mother. I don't remember. I don't remember like getting off the plane and seeing her, and you know, I don't, because to me, I guess she was like a stranger. Yeah, and mind you, I was only 7, so you know, yeah. So I don't know. There's a lot of blank stuff in my head. But anywho, so basically, long story short, that happened, and then let me see. So I guess 8, 9, and 10. We lived. I remember the name of the street. It was called Leroy Street in St. Louis, and it had a hill. We were on the bottom of the street, like as you turn down Leroy Street. Our house was on the left hand side. There was a basement. We had a basement, and then the street went all the way down and up the hill. And then once you got all the way to the top of the hill, I think you go through the fence, and there was a cemetery. Yeah, I remember that part because my cousins lived down the street, so I used to go, which was my mother's brother and his family. So they're my cousins. I was adopted, but they were my cousins through adoption. But so yeah, all that happened. From what I read in my adoption papers, I was very shy, and that's it said I was shy when it came to strangers, and I didn't show any emotions too much. Um, yeah, it says that in my papers that I never really showed emotions. I didn't. I was quiet and shy, and I believe that because up until I started greeting at my church, shout out to New Life, City of Oxnard. But up until I started greeting in 2015 for the first time, prior to that, um, I had always been shy, very shy. And I remember my cousin's wife, and she's my cousin too, but she asked me when I was out there in January, she asked if I was always quiet. So it was a trip that she asked me that question because, until I get to really know a person and feel comfortable, then, I'm kind of quiet, I guess. But I did break out of my shy shell a little bit when I started greeting at church. So I greet the third and fourth Sunday of each month at my church. We greet people, welcome, etc., etc. So, and then I sang in the choir during Christmas or Easter. So those two things kind of helped me get it out of my shy shell. But prior to that, yeah, I was always shy, so. And then I've always been kind of sheltered because my adoptive mom, she adopted me as a single parent, so there was no father and no other kids. A matter of fact, she has a son. She had a son, but she didn't raise him. So he was her only child, and I was my mom's only child as well. I'm gonna read the 3-page letter that my mom had wrote that was sent with the adoption papers when I received them in 2021, I believe. So she wrote a 3-page letter. It may have been more pages because she was going to leave some numbers of some family members, I think my grandparents or someone, so I can call and try to connect with them, but the numbers weren't there. So the people who sent me the packet and the letters, of course, I'm glad they sent me the letter, the 3-page letter along with the packet, but I guess they didn't want me to. They didn't think that the family wanted me to reach out, so maybe that's why they crossed off the number that was left. But I will read my mom's letter. I don't have it with me. No, it's at home in my papers. But I will read that. It's so beautiful, so emotional, so deep. It's amazing. But I have to read that to y'all when I'm at home and when yeah. So basically, and then what else? Okay, so all that happened, went to school in St. Louis. We lived in St. Louis from the age of 7 until the age of 11. So I would play with my cousins down the street. We would play double dutch. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 91, 10, 20, 30. You jump in, and then you do double large. Double large is going backwards. Double dutch and I think it was called double large or something like that, where we would switch and then jump and then go back, do the rope backwards. So that was something fun that we played. We played jacks with the metal jacks. We played the pickup sticks, the colorful sticks that you have to throw up in the air, and then you have to pick one without touching another one. And then now they call it paddle ball, but back in my day, I'm 60 by the way, so old school, but we called it a bolo bat. It's the same thing, but back then the rubber string was much longer because it's the paddle ball. They call it the paddle ball, so it's the paddle and the ball that's attached to the rubber band. But back then it was longer, so you can go sideways, up, down. It's fun. It was fun. I would play those games today if I had them. I love playing games and having fun. But jacks, we would have to it's from 1 to 10. So you pick up 1, and then you pick up 2, and then 3, and so on and so forth. And then if you touch the other jack, then you're out. Wow, the games we played, dodgeball. I didn't like dodgeball too much. But that was a game that we played. But anywho, so all that happened. But I think the age of between from 9 to 11, my mother had a farm in the country. So we would go out to the farm every weekend, which was in Dix, Illinois, Dix, and then Illinois, which was like I think about 2 hours. For some reason, I think it was a 2 hour drive from St. Louis, and so we would stay out there every weekend in our mobile home. It was a 2 bedroom mobile home that we had, and then on the farm we had chickens, baby chicks, hogs. Hogs is like a grown pig. We had pigs because the hogs had. I think hogs is yeah. Hog is pigs. Pigs are the babies, and then hogs is the adult. Is the I mean the grown pig. I just remember that name for some reason. Hogs. I could be wrong, but I'm thinking hogs, and then I think a bow was the male pig. I'll just say pig. But anyways, so we had those. We had chickens. We had ducks. We had geese, and we had cows and calves, baby calves, of course. And I think that's it. Yeah, it was a lot of work. I had to do a lot of work on the farm as a child. I didn't really have no friends because, in the country, everybody had their own land and everybody had mobile homes. I think some people probably had a house. We had a mobile home. It was a 2 bedroom mobile home. And so we would go out there every weekend. I would always have to gather up all the eggs that was laid by the chickens in this big old aluminum pan. I hope I didn't repeat this during the introductory. I don't think I did. But anyways, that was my chore. I had lots of chores. Let me turn this fan down because it's getting cool. So, yeah, I had lots of chores that I had to do. I would have to collect all the eggs, and then I would have to put them in the tin, and then I would have to wash each one. Mind you, this tin was huge, like a big old aluminum tin pan. And so I would have to put all the eggs in there, and then I would have to wash the poop off because they all had poop on them. Because the chickens would lay the eggs, and we wouldn't go out there, until the weekend. So I would have to do that, wash the eggs, wash the poop off first, and then I would have to shine them up with mineral oil. I remember having to do that, and then I would have to make milk in the big old bottles for the cats. Uh, I don't know why maybe because they had to be fed that way. Because it was like powdered milk. You mix it with water, I believe, and these big old bottles. It's a bottle like a baby bottle, but it was a big bottle for cats. And I would make the milk and stick them in the. I think it was kind of warm from what I can remember. I think I had to warm. I think my mother had me warm either the water. I don't know, but I kind of remember it had a certain smell, and I think it was warm. So and then I would put the bottle into the little slot, um, and then the baby calves will come and drink the bottle, drink the milk from the bottles. So yeah, that was that. And then of course we had a garden, and that's why to this very day I love fresh collard greens if I can find them. I used to remember, excuse me, some grapes being grown on a vine. Grapes on a vine is so good. And tomatoes. That's why I like tomatoes so much because I remember eating tomatoes with just some salt. It's just something about that homegrown tomato. So good. But anyways, that was that. Now, I may have mentioned this before, however, in case I didn't, I didn't have a really close connection with my mother, my adoptive mom. I never met my biological mom, mind you, but that'll come later. But I didn't have a close, a loving relationship with my biological mom. I mean, with my adoptive mom. I don't remember a lot of love. I just remember a lot of work, and I remember extension cords being beat with the extension cord. I remember the webs that would be left on my legs, my body. I remember being beat with the country switches. And if anybody know anything about a country switch, they are thick, they are green, and they move. When you whooping somebody, the switch just it and I don't know what was worse. The switches, or I think the extension cord is worse. I don't know, but they both were bad. And I used to always also get slaps across my face, and then there would be like a handprint, a mother's handprint. Those three things I remember so clear, and that's why, as I have three daughters myself, and but when I wasn't uh, I wasn't the best parent. However, I did more talking than spanking, because I didn't want to leave any type of bruises or anything on my daughters, because of what I went through. So it may have been good that I went through it, but I don't know. No, I ain't gonna say that. I ain't gonna say that, because that caused us to not have a close relationship. And I remember when my mother used to go to work, because we finally moved out there in the country. We moved on the farm when I was 11, and we lived there for 2 years. We used to go every weekend at first, and then we ended up moving out there from 11 to 13, and then I came to Cali at the age of 13. So during the country days, I had to walk all the way down the driveway to wait for the bus to go to school. The driveway was long. Like, it probably took maybe, I don't know, I was a kid, so I don't know how long it took, but it was a long, 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 long driveway. I'm picturing it now. It was a long driveway, and it snowed out there, of course, in Illinois. But I would go all the way down to the very end and catch the bus and go to school and then come home. Um, I remember one day when I came home, I had this little white dog named Bubbles. He was small. He was really a small dog. I don't know if he was just a puppy or he just didn't grow, but he was white and his name was Bubbles. And my mother had me bury him when I got home from school, because he had got caught up in we had a shed, a tin shed where the chickens were kept, and he was caught, uh, some kind of way. He got caught stuck on the shed some kind of way, and he passed away. And he was like that until I came home, because I had to bury him. That wasn't very. Uh, it was memorable, but it wasn't a good memory. But anyways, so those days out there, I didn't have friends, because it was everybody lived far from one another on the farm, and so there was neighbors that used to come and help my mom work on the farm and stuff, and so I would just see the kids come. It was like two brothers, and she would have them come over and help out on the farm. And but as far as any kids, there was really no kids. I had no friends. There was nobody that visited. None of that. So I was always, maybe that's probably why, another reason why I was so shy, because I was outside of my cousins in St. Louis when I would play with them. Uh, or we would go. Yeah.